We're going to continue by adding and subtracting fractions, but this time it has unlike denominators. Before you can add and subtract, you need to have a common denominator or you're not going to get the right answer. My suggestion to you is to use the least common multiple for a common denominator. It's going to be much quicker. Let's try it. Negative 3/8 plus 1/2. Before we start the problem, I've decided if I'm adding or subtracting. When I'm following integer rules, addition says same sign sum, different sign difference. So this is a subtraction problem. Now I have to decide on my common denominator. The least common multiple between 8 and 2 is 8. I'm going to use 8. You can use other things such as 16 in this problem, but you're going to have to reduce at the end, so it's going to be more work. If I change the denominator, I have to change the numerator. In our first fraction, I don't have to change anything because the bottom didn't change. But in the second fraction, I changed the denominator from a 2 to a 4, so I have to multiply the numerator by 4 as well. We said that this was actually a subtraction problem. So here I have the same denominator. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Let's try another one. Negative 1/5 minus a negative 2/11. Before we start the problem, let's decide if we're adding or subtracting. Integer rules tells us there's no such thing as subtraction. We must turn it into addition by keep, switch, opposite. Keep, switch, opposite. Now I can follow addition rules. Same sign, sum, different sign, difference. Looks like we have different signs, so we are subtracting. My least common multiple between 5 and 11 is 55. We're changing both fractions this time. So from 5 to 55, we multiply by 11. I get a negative 11 in the numerator. And from 11 to 55, we multiply by 5, so I get 10 in the numerator. We said that this was a subtraction problem, so I'm going to subtract 11 and 10. 11 is the bigger quantity, it's negative, so my answer is also negative. Let's try another one. We have negative 1x over 4 minus a negative 2x over 3. Before we start this problem, let's decide if we're adding or subtracting. It's a subtraction problem. We can't subtract integers, so I turn it into an addition problem by keep, switch, opposite. I see that we have the addition rules tells us same sign sum, different sign difference. We are subtracting in this problem. Now I need to find a common denominator. Between 4 and 3, the least common multiple is 12. So to get from 4 to 12, we multiply by 3. So when we're multiplying with variables, you just work with their coefficients. 3 times 1x is a negative 3x. And to get from 3 to 4, we multiply. From 3 to 12, we multiply by 4. So we multiply the numerator by 4. Again, just work with the coefficient. 4 times 2x is 8x. Now that I have a common denominator, I can combine the numerators. And this is just combining like terms. Again, you just work with the coefficients. Negative 3 plus 8 is 5, and the x follows. You don't add any exponents because we're not multiplying exponents, so the variable stays the same. Let's try another one of those. Okay, let me try another one. 3a over 2 minus a over 6. This is a subtraction problem. I have no integers, so I'm going to treat it like a subtraction problem. In the end, I'm going to end up subtracting. Now I want to find a common denominator. My least common multiple is 6. Again, in this situation, you can use 12 as a common denominator, but you're going to have to reduce at the end. My first fraction, the denominator changed, so the numerator must change. To get from 2 to 6, I multiply by 3. That's what I need to do in the numerator. So we're just working with the coefficients. We have 9a. Here, from 6 to 6, nothing changed, so the numerator is not going to change. Now I get to combine the numerators. Remember, when a variable is by itself, there's a 1 in front of it. So just working with the coefficients. 9a minus 1a is 8a. Sometimes you are going to have to reduce at the end. So this is the first problem we're going to have to continue on. 8 over 6, again, I'm ignoring the a for a second. I'm working with that fraction, 8 over 6. I see that it has the greatest common factor of 2, so I'm going to pull 2 out of both the numerator and the denominator. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the best answer for this problem is 4a over 3. Let's try some mixed numbers. 6 and 7/10 plus a negative 1 and 1/5. Now, in the last lesson, when we were doing these problems, we were stacking the mixed numbers vertically on top of each other. Let's stick with that. Let's keep that tradition going here. Before I start the problem, I'm going to decide if I'm adding or subtracting. And in this problem, it's addition rules, same sign sum, different sign difference. It's actually a subtraction problem. When you're dealing with subtraction, make sure you put the bigger number on top. This is the bigger number because it has a bigger whole number. Okay, this time I'm working off to the right. I need to find a common denominator between 10 and 5. The least common multiple is 10. My top fraction is not going to change, but the bottom fraction we multiply by 2. Now I can subtract. The denominator is going to stay the same. I'm going to use green. Let me change my pen. Subtract the numerator. 7 minus 2 is 5, and then the whole numbers. Again, always check your answer to see if you can simplify. There is an equivalent fraction of 5/10. The most reduced answer, I'm going to pull a 5 out of the numerator and the denominator. So I get 5 and 1/2. Check the original problem. Is my answer supposed to be positive or negative? This is the bigger quantity. It's positive, so my answer is positive. Let's try one more. Negative 1 and 3/7 minus 2 and 3/14. Before I start the problem, I'm going to decide if I'm adding or subtracting. So I need to turn this problem into addition with keep, switch, opposite. Keep, switch, opposite. Addition rules say same sign sum. We have the same sign, so I'm going to end up adding these two fractions together. So I have 1 and 3/7 plus 2 and 3/14. I'm not going to be worried about those negatives until the end of the problem. My common denominator is 14. Looks like we are changing the top fraction this time, but the bottom fraction is staying the same. Denominators stay the same. 6 plus 3 is 9. 1 plus 2 is 3. I can't reduce 9 over 14. Look at the original problem. Because both of those terms are negative, my answer is negative.